What's up, guys? Welcome back to Daniel Talks Football right here on YouTube. I am Daniel and we are back with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing our far too early Premier League predictions. The Premier League season hasn't even finished, but I've run out of content ideas. So we're here to do the far too early Premier League predictions. To explain how this is going to work, we have relegated the bottom 3 teams in the Premier League and we've promoted the top 3 teams in the Championship just for the sake of ease. And we are here to reflect on all 20 sides where they're going to finish, basically. On the line, we have a very, very special guest. Hasn't been on a little while. He's a returning guest. Yeah, definitely a returning guest. And it's Javier. How are you doing, mate?
I'm not doing too bad, Daniel. How are you?
I'm okay, mate. I'm, well, depressed because we're 19th and we're not even in this video. And you are flipping our Everton here. Our Luton here and Leicester aren't.
Because you're in the bottom 3.
Shut up,
like
Jay.
you explained in the video, the bottom 3 aren't in this video.
Shut up, Jay. Who do you have in 20th?
We're starting already, bloody hell, just like that.
Well,
Okay.
It's not a podcast, it's a video. Retention.
Okay. So, in 20th, I have got the mighty Luton Town.
Ooh.
So, this wouldn't surprise too many because they are... Well, they're last of 3. They're the last of the 3 that have come up.
Mm-hmm.
They're 3rd right now. And whether they'd attract anyone while coming up, I really do not know. And whether they've had the budget to do it, I don't really know. So pretty much my main concern is how much they'd strengthen that squad. And I don't think they'll do it well enough. So that's why I've got them in 20th.
I'm going to explain that when I get to Luton, because I don't have Luton in 20th. I think... Even if they don't strengthen the squad, a team like Brentford didn't particularly strengthen their squad much and they still did really well. I know they had Tony, but I still feel like for one season Luton could just use that Premier League excitement and do it, and then the second season they'd finish bottom. But this is the first season Luton would be in the Premier League, so I don't think Luton will finish 20th. I've gone for Bournemouth because I said they'd finish bottom this season. And it doesn't look like they're going to, so I'm going to say they're going to finish bottom this season. I still don't think Bournemouth are good enough. I don't think they've got a good enough squad. They strengthened it in January a bit, yes. But if they want to keep Gary O'Neill on for next season, look, he's done okay, but he is not a Premier League manager. And no. I just think Bournemouth in the summer, their good players will get picked off. And the sort of good vibe around the club with David Brooks coming back will be gone. And I think they'll go down. So the Cherries... You're going back to the Championship to go and play with Southampton again.
Wonderful.
Easy as. 19th.
19th, I now have Bournemouth. Now, it's pretty much the same reason as you, but the only reason I put them above Luton is because I believe Luton will have the worst squad. Bournemouth, again, whether they stay up by the skin of their teeth this season, which looks like it now. Mm-hmm. Again, big players will get picked off, everything like that. And the only reason they're not 20th is because Luton have a worse squad. Okay,
now again, I disagree with what you're saying about Luton, but I think we'll have to argue about that when we get to them. Because again, I don't have Luton in 19th. I have Sheffield United in 19th. I just think they're just probably not going to be good enough. I like some of their players, I do, but the strength of this Premier League is so strong now. Mm-hmm. And they were only up a couple of seasons ago, but I do think they've got a really good squad. It's the issue that maybe do some of those players get picked off if they get promoted? Do they strengthen certain areas that they need to? You know, something like Wes Foderingham isn't Premier League standard. So mm-hmm. I like Sheffield United. I think they're a really good side. And it's fair for them to get promoted. It's not like it's a year too early. It's absolutely right. I just don't... the Premier League's too strong now. The Premier League is such a strong league. And I feel like they would go back down. So I've got Sheffield United in 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And then 18th. Final relegation spot. Who do we have here?
I have a team that I actually said last season would get around mid-table. I have Crystal Palace.
Wow.
Now, this may be interesting, but I have seen a lot of rumours of many big players leaving after this season. Wilfred Zaha's out of contract this summer, I believe. Mm-hmm. Is he? Is he not? Yes.
Yes, he is.
Odsonne Edouard has been linked with a move away to France.
Not been that good, to be fair.
Not been, but still, it's a big player, and it's a big player for them. I've seen who was it? It's another attacker. Elise, after his recent performances, I've seen he's been linked with a move away as well. Not sure where it was to. I saw Spurs were maybe interested.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Their squad, I feel, will just be extremely weakened. However, Palace, I really love Palace. I think they've always had a great side. They're basically a staple in the Premier League. I can't. 2 years ago, if you were to tell me Palace would be in a relegation battle, I wouldn't really believe you. Whether they stay up, I'm saying it's between Palace and the team that I've got next, but I'll reveal them in a second.
Okay.
But Palace will have a good start to the season, but I believe that they will fall off heavily in the second half.
Fair enough. I like Palace. I don't have them in 18th. I think that defence will help keep them up. Somebody like Guehi, does he maybe move on this summer? If Guehi and Elise move on, okay, but they would probably easily get 80-90 million for them combined. I trust in Palace to go out and reinvest that money well. It does depend on who their new manager is going to be. But again, I believe they could probably go out and get somebody of a decent size because they are a London club. I've got Leeds in 18th. Now, I like what Leeds are doing, but again, they're probably going to get a new manager in the summer. Grassi has only got a contract. He was only given a contract up until the end of the 22-23 season. And I don't believe they would go out and get a good manager. I can see them going out and getting somebody like Patrick Vieira, Ralph Hasenhüttl, somebody strange.
Yeah.
Or somebody just out of left field, who no one's really ever heard of. I just think they'll go down. They tried that Jesse Marsch project, and obviously that hasn't worked, but there's still a lot of Jesse Marsch's players there. And a lot of American players there. It's been a club kind of built on Americanisms. And now that's going to be gone. And I just don't know if that squad chemistry is going to be there between the players and the manager. The players themselves, I feel like there'll be probably quite a few moving on this summer because of, Jesse Marsch leaving. They'll go, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to move back abroad. And I think they'll go down. They also don't have a good enough striker.
Yeah, that's a big point, actually.
Definitely don't have a good enough striker. So, yeah, I think Leeds will go down in 18th. Who do you have in 17th, Jabir?
In 17th, you were just talking about them. I've got Leeds.
Okay.
Now, the only reason I've got them above Crystal Palace is I believe Leeds have a better squad. I really like a lot of their players. Wilfred Gnonto is a big one that I've been watching this year. I think he's amazing. Wilfred. I think he's a player who's going to be watched a lot by some big teams this summer, especially if Leeds do go down, because he's a player who's far too good for the Championship right now. You've got Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Aronson, like you said, the American players. I think they just have a solid squad. They've brought in Rutter. Whether he resolves any scoring problems as a striker, I'm not too sure, but I think I back Leeds enough to stay up. I think they have a good enough defence to do it. Whether their attack is good enough, I'm not sure, but players like Gnonto, McKennie, just all of them players.
McKennie's only on loan. So
yeah, they've got an option to buy there, don't they?
It is 32 million. I don't know if they're going to spend that much.
I've heard he's been all right, though, this year.
Mediocre. They do have a stats midfield anyway, and it depends who the next manager's going to be, but does McKennie want to sign? If it's not if they were to go out and get, well, to be fair, if they go out to get Vieira, he probably would, because it'd be working under, a world-class midfielder. But yeah, fair enough. I've got Luton. Now, it's going to be the good feel around the club. They won't sign many players. I think their tactic will be, let's go with what we've kind of got. Spend a bit, spend maybe 40, 50 million. Because then if we go down, we can bank sort of 50 million of Premier League money and we can rebuild in the Championship. It's the case that I think the good feel around the club will really, really help them. There's, they're going to be feeling really good. They've just got promoted to the Premier League, Luton Town in the Premier League. The fans are going to be loving it. It's going to be sort of like a dream for them the whole season. And I think that good energy, I sound like a mid-30s woman, to be honest, talking about good vibes and good energy. But I think that will really carry them through the season, and I think they will stay up.
Fair enough.
I know it seems weird, but you look at sides in the past, people like Huddersfield Town, who didn't have a very good squad when promoted. They got 12th or 13th before then getting relegated the next season. Sheffield United did it when they first got promoted. Didn't have a very good squad, but still managed to stay up. And I think Luton would do the same. I think the second season they would absolutely go down. But yeah, I think they'll stay up. I really do. We'll move on from Luton into 16th. The Panthers' favourite number. Who do you have in 16th?
I have in 16th Sheffield United. Now, this is my big prediction. I think Sheffield are going to do a Forest. They're going to go out, sign about 55 new players who can kick a football. Doesn't matter if they're good enough or not.
It doesn't matter if they can. It doesn't matter if they can kick a football. To be honest.
Yep.
Have we seen Omar Richards kick a football?
No, we haven't. But have you? We also seen how badly Leicester are doing this season.
Shut up.
I don't know why I brought Leicester into this, but
you just want to hate on me.
Yeah. Anyway, Sheffield United. Players like Iliman and Jai, I think he's amazing. Something makes me think he's gonna have a big season if he comes up into the Prem. I say players like James McAtee, if they get promoted, will he maybe join? Try and get away from Man City, seeing as though he won't. I don't see him getting any game time, especially with that attack that they've got.
No.
You know, Haaland, Foden. You've got players like Foden who have come through the academy and done that, but is McAtee Foden level? Probably not.
Probably not.
So if they go out, spend maybe 10, 20 million, get McAtee in on a permanent, I think they'll do a solid job in the Prem.
Okay. I just can't see somebody like Ndai. I think he's such a good player. He might even move on before they were even to sort of play in the Prem. Could I see a club like Manchester United coming in? Yes. I could see such a top club coming in. I feel like some of their really good players will be picked off, and then I don't know if they would struggle. So again, I've got Sheffield United going down. In 16th, I've got Burnley. Vincent Kompany at the wheel, such a good side. To be honest, I'm surprised I didn't put them a little bit higher, but again, it's the fact that there is quite a few players on that side that, I don't want to say they're strange players, but they're a bit new, and I don't know how they would sort of adapt to the Premier League. I think putting them as 16th is fair, and yeah, that's where I've got Vincent Kompany's man. But I really like Kompany as a manager.
Very good.
I think he's a really, really good manager. Obviously, on the presumption that he doesn't go to Spurs. If he goes to Spurs, then yeah, I think Burnley finished 20th. But I don't think he's stupid enough to do that. I really don't. 15th.
Okay. So in 15th place, I have Everton FC, my football club. So our squad, I think, is good enough to stay up. We have Onana. Whether he moves on the summer, I don't know. Which he probably will. Too good for us. You've got many international players. Pickford, England's #1, by the way. Connor Cody, players like that. We've also got good young players in. We've got a decently young squad, I'd say. Got Garner, Gray, who's not young, but he's not old. You've got Sims. And we've just got a solid squad, I think. And with Dyche, you've got a reliable squad. You haven't got a squad that's unbelievable, but you haven't got a team that's gonna do badly.
No. All right, fair enough. I also have Everton in 15th. Again, just kind of what you said. I think you're in a decentish position. I think sell Onana this summer for 40-50 million, maybe to be honest, Chelsea would probably take him. Spurs probably have too many defensive midfielders as it is. Could you see a Manchester United coming in trying to get some backup for Casemiro? Quite possibly. I think if you sell him for 50 odd, you can rebuild that squad, try and bring in a new striker, even though that will be difficult because there's sort of no big strikers out there that our kind of clubs can afford. But yeah, I think if you were to hold on to Dyche, which would be a thing that I'm not sure if Everton would do, if you were to do that, I think you would finish 15th. Moving on into 14th. Who do you have in 14th?
14th, I have Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
Fulham are a team who, to be honest, I'm still confused as to how they were in a European fight at the start of the season. Yes, they've fallen off since, but shocked because I did not think that squad was even mid-table worthy. I like some of the players that they've got. You know, Mitrovic was
Mm-hmm.
a player who a lot of people watch him. Polina, I think, is excellent. Whether he leaves in the summer to a big club, I don't know who would pick him up. Maybe a Arsenal, if because they're looking for a DM now, I believe.
Possibly.
Yeah. But then other players like Manor Solomon, I've seen some highlights of him. I think he's going to be a big player for them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look past that, there's not actually much mid-table kind of quality in there. I thought they'd be in a relegation battle from the very start, but they've proven me wrong. But I think this next season, will really test them.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough. 14th, I've got Brentford. They're just going to be mid-table, aren't they? They're a good side. They're sort of well run now under Frank. Obviously, if they keep hold of Frank, I think they'll be completely fine. Somebody like Tony would have possibly served a ban by that point, maybe, or may if he does sort of have to serve a ban at the start of next season, then that could hinder them. But I still think they will be completely fine. And yeah, I think they'll possibly try and go out and strengthen this summer, bring in some good players, even though when Brentford do spend big money, it hasn't really seemed to work out. I think they should try and go for some more hipster signings. Let's be honest, they could be one of those clubs that could pick off a couple of our sort of middling players. If we were to go down, which obviously in this simulation we are, somebody like a Luke Thomas, or could you possibly go out and get a Patson Daka or someone like that? I think Brentford would be in a safe mid-table spot, and I think they will finish 14th. Just a good, solid season for Thomas Frank's men. Who do you have in 13th?
13th, I have Vincent Kompany's men,
Okay.
Burnley. Now, we've all seen what they've done in the Championship. They're a very, very dangerous side now.
For
A
sure.
completely different side to what Sean Dyche was building. A quick side that likes to play with the ball a little bit, likes to build up the play.
Mhm.
That's just, I mean, 2 losses all season just speaks for itself. What are they, like 14 points clear at the top of the league now?
It's mental.
Yeah, they've been on it since the start of the season, and I think they'll just carry that great form on into the Premier League. I mean, their squad's definitely good enough. Players like Teller, I think, has been very good. Whether they pick him up permanently, I'm not sure. Company, again, like you said, if he decides to move on to a Spurs. But again, would he leave Burnley after such a solid first season
You
in
would hope
charge?
not.
I don't think so. But apart from that, basically, yeah, I just think they have a very good squad, and I think they'll carry over this unreal form into the Premier League.
Yeah, fair enough. I put them a little bit lower, but that is just in case there was a risk of losing somebody like a Company. But yeah, I think that's definitely fair enough. In 13th, I've got Fulham. Same reasons that you kind of said. I think, you know, Mitrovic will be back firing at that point after a very long extended summer. And yeah, I think they'll be completely fine. Silva will still be there. Even though he's done a good job with Fulham this season, big clubs will be wary to take hits on him because of what happened at Everton. I think that's really going to help out Fulham. And I think Fulham will be completely fine. They'll stay up. They'll reinvest properly, you know, looking at the signings last summer. People like Paulinho, really, really good signing if he moves on for 40, 50 million. And they can go out and replace him. Would somebody maybe from Southampton, because they've got a lot of good midfielders, could they maybe go and pick off somebody from them? Or Forest obviously have an abundance of players. You know, somebody like a Morgan Gibbs-White, if Forest were to go down, how much would he cost? 20, 25, 30 maybe? Fulham could go and pick him up easily. So I think Fulham will be fine. I think they'll make some more smart investments, and they'll be a side that I can see sort of continuing to grow, but it'll be slow growth, and they will just be mid-table fodder for a while. But I think Fulham are completely fine with that. 12th. Who do you have in 12th place?
12th place, West Ham United. Now, a team that should not find themselves in a relegation battle, but are in a relegation battle, going from challenging to Europe to challenging to battling for relegation. Something that you only really hear from exceptional newly promoted sides like that Sheffield side from 3 years ago.
I'm waiting to.
Really like some of their
I'm
players.
waiting for the Leicester joke.
I could have brought them up, but it is what it is anyway. Anyway, Arsenal have been linked with Declan Rice, so whether he stays or not, I don't know. However, I don't see him there. Paqueta's been linked with a move away already. Bowen's been linked with a move away. It's just really about whether they can keep their players and if they really find the new manager well. I mean, David Moyes, I just can't see him at West Ham past this season.
No.
So maybe they go in. Who can they bring in? I'm not even sure who's really free now. Maybe a Jesse Marsh? I don't know. But I don't think he's really European quality. But
Will still?
will they slowly rebuild him again?
Do they get Will still?
Maybe, maybe not. Whether he'd leave, I don't think he'd leave Rem until they start falling off. Maybe I'm not too sure.
He is
but,
part English, remember?
and he's also a West Ham fan.
Mm.
So
Did he play with
maybe
a football manager? That's the question.
Maybe he did. Maybe he won them the Champions League. So maybe we'll do it in real life for them.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did. No, yeah, that's fair enough for West Ham. I've got them a bit higher. I've got Palace 12th. You know, it's just one of them, isn't it? I think they will be all right. I think they'll go out and get a good manager, and a manager really impacts the rest of the side. You were concerned about them losing players. I would back Palace's recruitment to go out and sign well if they were to lose big players. People like Elise and Guehi, you know, they found these players in the first place. I would believe they could go out and do it again. There'll be a lot of talent in the Championship, and there'll be a lot of talent getting relegated from the Premier League. Again, I feel like they're another club that could maybe go to a Southampton. And if they were to lose Guehi, could they go, all right, we'll have Duja Kaleta-Car? Would they, would they possibly not be, they probably wouldn't be able to get somebody like a Bella Kotchap at that kind of level. But I do feel like they could go out and get a strong centre-back in to replace him. Again, if they were to lose somebody like an Elise, you could look at maybe Forest of attackers. Could they get Brennan Johnson?
They could.
So it's one of them where I feel like they would be fine. I feel like their recruitment would be able to replace the players that they've lost, and I think they would be okay. So yeah, Crystal Palace in 12th. Who do you have in 11th place?
11th place, I have Brentford. Now, Brentford are a side that everyone has seemed to pick up and is absolutely loving this season. A solid job that Frank has done this year. Don't think they're quite European quality yet. However, most definitely good enough to stay out of relegation battle, so I've just got them mid-table.
Fair enough. I've got Brighton in 11th. Yeah, I think Brighton will possibly fall off a little bit. I could see somebody like a Mitoma. I mean, McAllister is apparently definitely moving on according to his agent. Are they then going to, on top of that, lose somebody like a Caicedo? Are they going to lose a Mitoma? Are they going to lose 2 or 3 of their key players? If they lose one, they can replace it. You've seen that model with Leicester. You can replace one key player, but if you start losing 2, 3, 4, which I could see Brighton doing, then I think you are in trouble. And Brighton do have a lot of good players that the big sides will be looking to pick up. Obviously, they lost a couple, you know, in the last 12 months as well. People like Trossard leaving, Ben White leaving a couple of summers back. You know, the goalkeeper situation, why Steele is starting at the moment, I don't know, but that looks like Sanchez will be moving on. I think Brighton will have a bit of a fall-off season. De Zerbi will still be there, and they will be able to rebuild. But I think they will just have to have a transition season if they do lose all these big players, and they're going to have to rebound and get some new young talents in. It will be a process with Brighton, and all clubs go through it. But I think I think they'll be completely fine, and De Zerbi's men will. Yeah, they'll challenge for Conference League. They just won't get it, and I think Brighton fans do take that. Who do you have in 10th?
10th place, I have Wolverhampton.
Okay.
Now, Wolverhampton have a side with many good players, like Adama Traore, Matheus Nunez.
Leaves in the summer. Traore leaves in the summer.
That's what I was just going to say. I don't think Traore does leave in the summer.
Is that a contract?
Yeah, but is he really? Yeah, you know what? Never mind. That's my bad. Well, anyway, Ruben Neves, Cunha, you've just got some solid players there. You've got a solid squad all round. Yeah.
I agree. I've got Wolves 10th. They're just good, aren't they? Lopetegui, good manager. Yeah, they'll be fine. 10th place for Wolves, just mid-table. They won't have to worry about relegation like they have this season. Fine, well done Wolves. 9th, who do you have in 9th?
9th, I have Brighton.
Okay.
One thing I did take into factor was Alex McAllister. Like you said, he is looking to leave at the end of the year.
He is.
Not sure where he's going to. I think Fabrizio reported it was three clubs. I think it was Liverpool and Chelsea in the fight. I'm pretty sure it was.
I can imagine Arsenal probably in there as well.
I think Arsenal were in there. But anyway, just a lot of good players. Again, whether they lose anyone, I'm not sure. But I think I trust their scouting enough to find a player to a good replacement. I mean, Evan Ferguson this year, no one even heard of the guy a year and a half ago. Now look at him. He's just broken through and now he's a player in big demand. And I think finding players like that will be what keeps Brighton above this mid-table and potentially even challenge for Europe next year.
Yeah, I like that. Again, I think with people like Ferguson, it will be his first full season in the Premier League, so it will take a bit of adapting. I think that's what it's going to be for Brighton. It's going to be an adaptation year. They're going to bring in a lot of new, hungry young players because they're going to have to, and they're going to be good, but they're going to be inconsistent at certain points, and I think that's why they are only going to finish 11th. But they will be able to push on soon. For me in 9th, I've got West Ham. I think they bounce back. I think they sack Moyes. I think they go out and get somebody like a Will Still or maybe even Graham Potter. I think they're fine. They've got a good squad. Yes, it needs some, reimagination in there. Somebody like Scamacca, does he stay? I know he's changed his agents, but that was because his old agents wanted him to move and he didn't want to move. Paqueta, does he move on? Declan Rice, what happens with him? It's an interesting one, but I think West Ham completely fine in my books. They'll be 9th and they will start looking to push to Europe again. I think, as long as they sack David Moyes, they'll be completely fine. And then we move on into 8th. Who do you have in 8th place?
8th place, I have a big one. Tottenham Hotspur.
Okay.
Now, Spurs are a club who are in an absolute mess right now. No manager and a lot of unhappy players. You've got Harry Kane, who simply just cannot stay past this season. Contract's running out in about a year, I believe. And if anything, I think this is the best opportunity now for him to leave Spurs. I mean, he's done enough already, coming through the academy, nearly won them a title in 15-16. I'll put in a quick Leicester thing.
Hey.
There you go. Leicester you can celebrate. But you've got an aging squad in there as well. You've got Lloris, who is 35 and just is not at the level anymore. Let's be honest, he is falling off. You've got players like Lucas Moura, who's leaving at the end of the season. But then you've got the young players like you've got Rodrigo Bentancur, who before his injury was, I think, unbelievable. You've got Kulusevski. You've got Richarlison, who, let's be honest, this year he's been pretty piss poor. But again, he is a player with lots of quality. Whether you use him right or not, maybe when Harry Kane leaves, you finally give him an opportunity to use that striker role where he really is used best. But Spurs really are a side who need remodel. They need a new squad. They need a new backroom. They need a new everything. So, if anything, I think a year out of Europe will do them well. But not qualifying for Europe.
Fair enough. I don't have Spurs 8th. I've got them one position higher, so I'll touch them in a second. I've got Aston Villa 8th. I think Emery continues to push with this side. I think he continues to do well with this side. I think he has a full summer, and you've sort of seen what he managed to do with the January, just bringing in a couple of little players here and there. Villa do probably have quite a few players that they need to move on to really strengthen that squad, but I think Emery is the guy to do that. I can see them being the club this summer to really sort of, I know I've said it for quite a few guys, but I can see them being the club of really going into the relegated sides and looking around Europe, picking up the best buys. Somebody like Ibrahima Sangare I could possibly see going there to really strengthen up that midfield alongside somebody like a John McGinn. you know, could I see Villa going out and getting, you know, somebody like a Patson Daka, Kelechi Iheanacho as their backup striker? Could they go out and get somebody like a Morgan Gibbs-White to replace Coutinho? You know, things like this I can really see Villa going out and doing. I think Emery is the guy to rebuild the squad, and I think he will. I think he's a smart guy, and I think it'll be a good evening for Villa. But, please laugh.
No, that was awful.
Who do you have in 7th place?
7th place, you just touched upon them, Aston Villa.
Okay.
Emery, top class manager, managing the top class side. You've got Ollie Watkins, who has hit a blue patch out of nowhere.
Yes.
You've got Martinez. You've got World Cup. You've got a World Cup winner in there. You've got Luiz. You've just got a good side. You've got young players as well. Again, you've got players to sell like Leon Bailey. You can get maybe potentially 20-30 million for him. But we have seen previously that Aston Villa's recruitment is pretty top notch. I mean, finding players like Kamara, I thought was a brilliant buy.
For sure.
Yeah. You've got Douglas Luiz, again, another brilliant buy. I think he's amazing. Diego Carlos before his injury. We haven't seen much of him.
No.
But from what we've seen, he's been solid. You've got Jacob Ramsey, again, more homegrown talent. And they're just a really good, well-run side who
Sure.
I believe will challenge for Europe.
Sure, fair enough. I've got Spurs in 7th. Now, I've put them 7th because I believe that rebuild you were talking about, I believe they do that this summer. I do believe it will be a transition period, but I think they will have that good kind of feel back. I think Kane moves on. I think Son moves on next summer. So I think both of them leave in the next 2 years. If Son doesn't leave this summer, the issue is I don't know where he goes, because I could see him possibly going to a Bayern, but they've kind of got their left-hand side sorted. I could see him going to a PSG, but do they want to go out and get another star-studded name? I don't quite know. But I think Spurs do start to rebuild this squad. You know, they do need a new goalkeeper. Somebody like a Robert Sanchez or David Raya, two goalkeepers they are looking at. Mamadishvili as well from is it Valencia? He's a really good goalkeeper, and he's going to be coming up in a video soon, actually, talking about him. I think Spurs will finish 7th. Bring in a new manager, obviously. Now, that will be key. Who is that new manager going to be? If they were to go out and get someone like a Nagelsmann, I would genuinely put them in that sort of argument for top 4. Because I think he's so good. But I don't think they will. It's going to be the case if they were to go out and do another Nuno-esque appointment, then yes, I think, you know, you could even see them fall into like 10th, 11th. But I think they will get that just about right. Who the manager's going to be, I'm not quite sure. But I think they'll be okay. Who do you have in 6th place?
Yeah. 6th place, Liverpool. Now, Liverpool, I've only put them here because Klopp leaves at the end of the season after not qualifying for the Champions League. And this will be a big season because this will be the first season in about, how many years is it? 7, 8 years without Klopp. I think they'll keep the same kind of squad, like the foundations of it, like Salah. You've still got your attack, you've still got your defence, all of that. They'll recruit one this summer as well, but I just think the manager will cost them a little bit. Just 6th.
Fair enough. I don't have Liverpool 6th. I'm going to touch on them when I get to them, but I think I know who will replace Klopp, and I think they will do all right with them. I've got Chelsea 6th. New manager they're going to have to bring in. They're going to bring in new players. Todd Bowley needs to figure out what he's doing, and I think he will start to this summer, but they're still going to have to bring in new players. You possibly do still need another midfielder in that squad. You need a striker. You need some new attackers. And that's a lot to do for a club who's already had so much transition. They need to get a lot of players out. You're looking at getting, 2 to 3 midfielders out. You need to strip most of that attack away. Sterling hasn't performed. Ziyech is probably already mentally checked out. Aubameyang obviously isn't good enough. Half that attack will be stripped. Mount will probably move on. There's a lot of Havertz. They're going to have to rebuild, and I think they're not going to do that in the Champions League. Obviously, I don't think they will even get European football for next season, and because of that, I think the players they will be able to bring in will be of a lower standard. and I think they'll finish 6th.
Fair enough.
It's rough, but Chelsea just haven't been managed well by Bowley here. Who do you have in 5th?
No. 5th, I have Chelsea.
Okay.
Now, Chelsea, I mean, their squad is just absolutely huge. I don't even know how you describe this squad.
Well, it's mental. Have you heard the stories coming out from well, I can't remember if it's Bowley or Lampard or whoever it was. You know, there's players having to get changed in corridors, and they're having to do 11 versus 11 and then a 9 versus 9 game on the side. It's stupid.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm just lost. I don't know where this Chelsea side goes. I think they'll do well. I believe they will be the ones to bring in Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann's a manager who I think is very good. I think he'll qualify for Europe. Don't think Champions League quite yet. Mm-hmm. They have the Champions League quality side, but it's just a lot. It's just a lot of players.
It is.
And whether we keep them all happy, I'm not sure. But right now, Chelsea are in a bit of a mess as also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I've got Liverpool 5th. Their new manager will be Xabi Alonso. Doing really well at Leverkusen, former Liverpool player, loved by Liverpool fans. Xabi Alonso will come in and take over from Jurgen Klopp. And he will bring with him Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz will tear up the Premier League. And Liverpool...
I believe that would happen, but I don't think it will happen.
What? Wirtz coming to the Prem? Well,
yeah, Liverpool. Will Liverpool splash out that sort of money? I mean, they've just pulled out of the race for Bellingham.
Yeah, but that was
got a value of about
that was 130 million. Wirtz will be 80.
Oh, he's just had the massive injury, hasn't he? He's had the ACL.
Exactly.
So his value will be dropped a bit.
Wirtz will be 80 odd. Liverpool do need to target a star midfielder. They're talking about 60 million. If somebody like Xabi Alonso were to come and make Wirtz his top priority, I'm sure Leverkusen would probably do 80, 90. And I think with this squad, with a new feel around the place, with players having to impress again, this Liverpool side does have quality. The only thing that worries me is all their attackers for next season, bar Salah, are best playing off the left. Nunez, Jota, Diaz, they are all... I feel like I missed someone.
Gakpo. You've missed Gakpo.
They're all best playing off the left. That's worrying. Because you need to reshape that attack, because they've got 4... One of those 3 needs to be sold this summer, if not 2.
And who do you get rid of? Well, it's got to be Nunez and Gakpo, I think. Actually, no, Jota?
I feel like I could see Jota moving on, possibly for 50, 60, and them going out and them having to... They need to get a backup for Salah to challenge Salah. They need to bring in somebody like a Jonathan David as their star striker, or even a Vlahovic if they want to change up the system under Xabi Alonso. They need to change things up, but yeah. I think Liverpool will finish 5th, and I think they'll be all right. Who do you have in 4th?
I have Manchester United in 4th.
Okay.
Whether they qualify for Champions League this year, I don't know. But just, again, a solid squad. I think they will go out and buy a proper striker this year, because Wout Weghorst not signing permanently. No. It's not even a real name. You've got a solid defence. However, midfield still needs work, in my opinion. Casemiro's aging quicker and quicker. You've got Christian Eriksen, again, another older player. I think you've got to go out and you've got to sign a DM, maybe even 2 DMs. You need... What else do they need? They need a striker, maybe even 2 strikers. But... Man United's recruitment, I think I trust it. I think they'll go out. I think they'll find someone good enough, and I think they will just do a solid 4th.
Okay, fair enough. I've got Newcastle 4th. I think it'll be a steady summer for Eddie Howe. I think they'll go out and they will do a lot, but I think the sides around them will also do a lot. I think they'll stick with Howe for another year, and I think they will have a very good summer. I think they'll move out some of the deadwood. You still got people like Matt Ritchie in that squad, and those are players that are just not good enough to be obviously in a squad challenging for the Champions League. They will move out all that kind of deadwood, and they will bring in some new players. Again, they're another side that I can see raiding the relegated clubs, especially Leicester City. Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison, Harvey Barnes. I could see those three all ending up at Newcastle, in all honesty, especially if they get Champions League football. And I think Newcastle will be good. I think they'll finish fourth, and I think it'll be a good season. Another season that Geordies are happy with, another European tour in the Champions League, and yeah, they'll be happy. Who do you have in third?
Third place, I have Newcastle. Pretty much the exact reasons you just lined out. Just a solid team. I mean, just third place, I guess. I don't know what else to say, really. You've just covered everything.
Yeah.
Third place.
Fair enough. In third, I have Arsenal. I like what Arsenal are doing this season, and I think they will win the Premier League. And I think because they win the Premier League, next season that hunger to go out and win it again isn't going to be there. I think they will try and target the Champions League a little bit more, especially mentally. I think they'll be focused on the Champions League. And I just, once you've won something once, especially with a group of players, because that whole group of players isn't going to get refreshed this summer. If anything, it's only the start for that group of players. So they're not going to have that same hunger to go and do the Premier League again. I think City will be back stronger, and I think United, who I've got in second, will be back stronger. And I just think Arsenal fall away in the league a little bit. Not much, only third. I'm not sure if the summer business they end up doing will work out. We're going to have to see on that one, obviously, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I've got Arsenal in third. Who do you have in second place?
Second place, I have Man City.
Wow.
I have Man City simply because Arsenal are better. That's actually all I can say. I don't even know what to say. It's just too unreal. Arsenal will win the league at the end of the season, I believe. Especially if they beat City. If they beat City, the title's over, full stop. Okay. But either way, I think Arsenal will win the league. City, obviously, they have what? Not even a debate, best side in the world. Something makes me think, though, they'll go for the Champions League next season. Like you said with Arsenal, maybe they'll want to win the Champions League next season and focus on that, which is why they'd maybe experience a fall-off. But if anything, I believe it'll be Man City because I think I don't think they'll win the Champions League this season. So I think they'll do the exact same thing next season, maybe not focus on the league as much, and that will just give Arsenal, give them the title pretty much.
Fair enough. I do wonder if City do win the Champions League this season. They were very good against Bayern. And I do wonder if they will. However, I've gone for United in second. I feel like it's best to do these two together. I've gone for United in second. I think they'll have such a good window under Ten Hag. If those new owners come in, and I know it's a bit iffy if they do or if they don't at the moment, but if those new owners do come in, they will refresh that squad. I know they're so close to FFP, but they do have talents they can sell on. People like Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, Fred. They've got some talents they can sell on for 2025, and I think they will have money to reinvest. So I have got United second.
Did you just call Harry Maguire a talent?
You could get 20, 25 million for him, even 30.
I think talent's a bit of a stretch, let's be honest.
He's got a big forehead.
To be fair, he does have a talent, and it's awful defending.
And then in first...
No one else brings you that.
And then in first, I've got Manchester City. I think City will win the league. I think Arsenal will do it this season, and I think City's hunger will return to then go and win it next season. I think they'll win the Champions League this season, and to be honest, I wonder if they win the Champions League. If Pep then goes, we didn't win the Prem last season, let's go and do that again. So I think they'll win the Prem, and I think, Man City will be the Premier League winners. Thank you for coming on, Jay. It's been an absolute pleasure. A very long video, as we are sort of accustomed to at this point. But thank you for coming on. And to everyone at home, I'll catch you all again in the next one. See ya!